Breaking news, this is important. I am making a tabletop RPG, specifically the Florida Man RPG, the content of which will include characters and scenarios from the Man Shorts universe, as well as crazy headlines from Florida. And the Kickstarter is coming very soon. Now, originally I was going to make this as an expansion for 5e or 3.5, but during development, it just started to make way more sense to make it a standalone RPG. So it'll be a D20 system, heavily inspired by D&D, Pathfinder, and D20 Modern. The main goal of the Kickstarter is going to be to get the PHB made, with stretch goals to make a monster manual and a DMG. I'm confident that if we get it funded, I can get it done in a couple of months, so the goal is to have the PHB ready by October. I've already made 10 species, including the standard human variant, Florida Man, as well as all these other cool species. By the way, yes, I used AI tools to generate these images. Don't come for me. These are purely conceptual pieces. I will be contracting out actual artists to make the artwork for the book. I've got 10 classes, 30 subclasses, 12 backgrounds, and a list of 25 skills. If and when the Kickstarter gets funded, I'll be able to fully flesh out the classes as well as the equipment, weapons, feats, and spells. In the meantime, finances are still a little tight, so if you're able to throw me a couple of bucks, you could do so on PayPal, Venmo, or Cashapp, all of which are yes. But yeah, that's all. That's the news. Florida Man RPG incoming. Keep your eyes and ears open.
Welcome, everybody. We're back, and we're in a new location. As you know, this is Rogue Advice, and we are a TTRPG, D&D, sports, everything, and just a hang out and have fun podcast. I am your host. You may know me as Pirate. You may know me as the Pirate Archaeologist. You may know me strictly as the Rogue. And there are still some who call me Chris. But I am your host, the Pirate Archaeologist, and I'd like to take this time to welcome you all into the 20th episode of Rogue Advice. Please send all your comments, questions. I get them all from roguebardadvice@gmail.com. It kind of looks like roguebardadvice at gmail.com. And I'd like to welcome everybody in the chat. I see Kirk is there. I see Bacon. And I see Cal Odin. I see Gray. I see Teeny. I see everybody. And a couple of you in the chat look like you have new colors and wrenches by you. Welcome in. Those are your moderators. Teeny, Bacon, and Milady Lee have joined Jim and Puffy Cheeto when she's here, and Yazik when he's here, as moderators for the chat. So please, have any questions, get out of line. They will take care of you. Sounds like Romper Room? So official. What do you mean, Kirk? So official. Yes, we're in a new location, and two of you have seen this location because we did a test on it, and I, unfortunately, have figured out that, yes, Kirk, Bacon, it probably is my microphone going bad. I don't know. I was working with it all afternoon today, and I couldn't get it to stop turning off. So we are using the microphone on the camera until I can afford to get a new microphone. Oh, we had admins, Kirk. They just were never present and around. I mean, River was here, Puffy Cheeto was here, Jim's here. But Chris and Kaz, I have no idea where they're at. They've abandoned us. If you see them in the Discord, ask them why they've abandoned us. I did. Yeah, I know, bad microphone. But, you know, it's a $5.99 or whatever it is, so I can pick one up cheap. It's just I don't have the money to do so right now. So, with that being said, as you saw at the beginning of the episode, we have an announcement from the Bard himself. That came about from mine and Chaz's one-on-one meeting, a meet and greet when I went up to Jacksonville. Him and I discussed this because I inquired on what's going on with certain things, like his novel that he's put on the back shelf, and the Florida Man RPG, or the Florida Man expansion that he was working on. And he asked me straight up whether it should be a standalone or whether it should be an add-on. And I'm like, honestly, I think a Florida Man standalone, you could do so much with it. So that's what we're doing. Yeah, he's been in contact with me for me to proofread the characters, and I got first look at all of the conceptual character designs that he had AI create. I fully support this. So if you guys can, he is starting a Kickstarter, but it's going to take a little bit for it to get up and running. But if you guys want and you can, Venmo, Cashapp, or PayPal, all Yazik. YAHZICK, all Yazik. Find him on there. He still needs money to pay his bills. He's still in not dire straits, but he's still in pretty bad conditions and whatnot financially for bills and stuff. He still is looking for jobs. Um, it's hard. It's hard. We all know it is. Um, but yeah, we have a slew of questions today, and as you guys have noticed, there is no title for this episode. I don't know why there's no title for this episode. I just couldn't figure one out. I had a suggestion while I was on TikTok earlier today that this episode should be called Kirk's Gray Shame, but I figured 2 episodes titled Kirk right in a row might be a little much, and we don't want to. Well, we do, but we don't want to sit there and continuously shame Kirk for not having his minis painted. Although I think that's going to be a thing with this podcast going forward. Let's see what's going on in the chat. New digs, yes, I got into corporate housing. This is my new apartment. It is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment with built-in washer dryer for clothes, dishwasher, sink, oven, full-on refrigerator. It's got everything, teeny. Let's see. I do not see. I see Yokai in there. Hi, Yokai. I do not see the rogue wife. I do not see the pirate wife. So she may be in here. She may not be. We also found out recently that her new glasses prescription is going to cost me quite a penny. I mean, it's one pair of her glasses is going to cost me $1,900. And that's only because she has to have prisms in both of her glasses. And there's only a few companies in the country that make glasses or lenses with this high of a prism in it. And it's not going to be fun. Horse with no name. Yeah. So prisms fix nystagmuses, and it makes her not see double vision constantly, or triple vision, or quadruple vision. Yes, Bacon, exactly. And she wants 2 pairs of them because just in case one pair gets ruined or gets broken, she has a second pair. So yeah, it's something we're going to work with and work into. So yeah, so I'm also here in these digs for quite a while. Apparently, the word on the street was that they were going to close the Gainesville office, and that they were going to move everybody from the Gainesville office to the Sarasota office. Well, that's flipped, reversed, and gone the way of the dodo, because now they're talking about closing the Sarasota office down and leaving the Gainesville office open. And that's primarily because what happened June 1st? Oh, that's right. Hurricane season started in June 1st. And guess where Gainesville is? Center of the state. Guess where we probably won't get very much damage if we get hit by a hurricane? Center of the state. Sarasota, on the coast. Melbourne, on the coast. If they get hit and they get damaged, then those people are out of work and have to go somewhere else anyway. So to solve that, we're just closing all the coastal offices down and moving everybody inland. So with that, let's get on with the news. I have scoured the internet this week to look for some good TTRPG news, and I think I have found some. Let's see. There's a crowdfunding D&D Kickstarter and role-playing from TNG News from March 5th. That was 2 months ago. Zemanora, Ballad of Witch, brings Slavic and Balkan folklore to life in a new fantasy TTRPG setting. Aaron Chronicles has launched Zamora, the Ballad of the Witch, a new tabletop role-playing game setting inspired by Slavic and Balkan folklore, on Kickstarter. The campaign, which went live Tuesday, and this was Tuesday, March probably 3rd, has already surpassed $120,000 in funding within its first day, making it one of the most notable Dungeons & Dragons 5e campaigns of the year. That bodes well. That information right there bodes well for Yazek and the Florida Man RPG. Now, mind you, the Zamora is a campaign setting set for 5e. It's not its own tabletop RPG. It's a campaign setting. But if it launched the Tuesday before the March 5th and it's already got $120,000 in a Kickstarter campaign, imagine how fast the Man Shorts Florida Man TTRPG full-on game can surpass in that same amount of time. I mean, Yazek has the fan base for it. Man Shorts has the fan base for it. It's going to go off the rails. I can see it. Wives are expensive, Ruby. $4,000 for an oxygen machine? Well, that's only if your husband loves you. And I'm sure Ron absolutely adores you, which is why he spends the $4,000 for your oxygen machine. I would spend the $1,900 if I had it for my wife's glasses, but I don't have it right now. So she has made the decision to put it off till we have the money. So, but yeah, no. So a Balkan and Slavic campaign setting. That is let's listen to more of it. Zemnora transports players and dungeon masters into a world of rural communities, dark forests, and vengeful witches. The setting is designed to support both Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and 2024 editions, as well as Legend in the Mist, the rustic fantasy RPG from Son of Oak Game Studio that was recently voted most anticipated TTRPG of 2025. And based on these pictures, I like their setting. I like their character designs. It's wonderful. I'll post a link in the Discord as soon as the chat is over, or as soon as the podcast is over. So yeah, that's upcoming. Let's see. So Ron, funny you should say that. My dad has had a T-shirt that has Garfield on it, and he's had it for, I don't know, all of my life. So at least 40 years. And the saying that Garfield is saying is the one with the most toys wins, or the one who dies with the most toys wins. So, do you want to die with the biggest debt, or do you want to die with the most toys? I'm voting most toys, but that's just me. Continuing on with news, I've got two more pieces of news. One is not necessarily news as much as it is 5 ways as a DM or as 5 ways for alternate character creation to mess around with in homebrews. Thank you for posting a link to the Discord, Bacon. That's right. If you haven't joined our Discord channel, please join the Discord. And if you like what you see here on the stream, please like, share, subscribe, turn on those notifications. That way you get that way you get notified that we're going live. However, if you join the Discord, we have a pin cord on our Discord that notifies you when we're going live. So you won't have to worry about that pesky bell. But coming back in for the news from RPGnews.com, RPG News did a Scion breakdown. We discussed the Scion class last week, but what I wanted to discuss was Pathfinders. They're revisiting Pathfinder's 2E most iconic region in Shining Kingdoms, your guide to the Inner Sea. Now, for those of you who played D&D 3E 3.5, this map that Pathfinder's 2E Shining Kingdoms uses looks strangely like Faerun. And I don't know if Pathfinder is set in Faerun or what, but it absolutely looks like strangely similar to Faerun. Only the seas have encroached onto Baldur's Gate area and Waterdeep and everything else. I'll post a link to this in the Discord, but they say it's familiar regions. This book is your guide to all things Inner Sea. You'll find all the hallmarks of classic high fantasy stuff there. Knights, nobles, magic swords, elves that have retreated from the world to live in their own magic homeland, dwarves in the mountain halls, the works. It looks like it's a new setting book, but it comes with player options. You'll find archetypes, magic item spells, and even specialized animal companions. So it's probably going to be similar to the Eberron campaign setting or the Kingdoms of Kalimar campaign setting. So it's available now for purchase. I can't give you a price on it. There's no price here, but I will post this in the Discord. You guys can look it up. And finally, this is what I found most interesting, because a lot of us like to homebrew. And this article came out 2 days ago, June 5th. D&D 5 alternate character creation rules to mess around with for your next homebrew campaign. Let the dice fall where they may. Probably one of the go-to house rules for many a table is rolling dice to figure out how your character should be. If you're with a group, that's up who's up for it. You can let the dice fall where they may, meaning you roll your stats in order rather than assigning them where you want. We've discussed this in depth on Bard Advice in previous episodes last year or so. A lot of folks will have their favorite method of generating characters at random, including rules like everyone gets to have at least a 14 to start with, or roll 3 sets, keep 1, which are just as at home with rules like roll 4d6, drop the lowest. These rules tend to skew the system more towards higher powered characters, but that's not a bad thing. They go on further. Need a backstory, try a life path. Make characters with no class. Now, this is something that I discussed with Chaz Yazik when we met, when we had our little face-to-face meeting. And I'm glad finally somebody has made an article or has questioned the same thing that I questioned. The white whale of many a D&D group is a game that starts with the characters as just regular people. At level 0, as they say. You don't have a class, no combat features, you may barely have hit points or proficiencies, but the fun lies in seeing if you can survive the first day of harrowing adventure. There are plenty of systems that have the idea of a character funnel where you see which, if any, 0-level characters you roll up survive to gain their meat grinder of a campaign. Starting at level 0, with some rules to guide you, can lead to catching the feel of starting off as people in a pastoral light little village with no clue of the wider world awaiting them. Especially since even level 1 characters are much stronger and more capable than your average peasant, and whatever flavor of level 0 house rules you find brew up for yourself, there is a way to really grow into your character. Typical ideas include a single D4 plus con mod for hit dice, starting with all ability scores at 10, increased as you get closer to level 1, proficiency bonus of only a +1, limited starting proficiencies, may, M-A-Y-E, being able to cast a single cantrip, assigning proficiencies as events in-game come up. My favorite variant, well, this person's favorite variant is you don't know what you're good at until you try and succeed on something. And that's a good way to nail down the humble origins of many fantasy stories. This is another thing that Yazek and I discussed, making every character a little weird in some way, giving them some sort of quirk. And finally, use classes outside of the core 12, which is soon to be 14, with 5.5e. So yeah, I'll post this into Discord. You guys can take a look at it. See what you hit. Wow, there's a lot of chat going on. Bacon S clears that up. Yep, Bacon S clears that up. Is the audio skipping? I don't know. It may be. It may be something that's messed up with Streamlabs. We have been having technical glitches and issues with microphones. So, well, at least thanks, guys. Thanks for fixing that. But yeah, no, I think those are. I think those are great ideas to work with, and it might be the phone tablet version having wobblers. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys have figured out the fix for it. Just come in and restart. Wow, 24 minutes just to talk about the news and what's going on. But that's not why we're here. Well, it's part of the reason why we're here. The second reason why we're here is let's get into some questions. Now, I had some very good questions come in this week. Granted, they came in from 2 people, but nonetheless, they were pretty good questions. So we're going to use them all. The first question we have, I think it's going to be this one. Nope, that's updates. This one. And this one comes from our dear good friend and unpainter of minis, Kirk. You have been assured that future archaeologists will dig down to a specific spot and recover whatever you bury there, which will lay there undisturbed for 1,000 years until they find it. What do you bury there to completely mess with their minds? That is a phenomenally interesting question, Kirk, and I had thoughts about this. I had very, very, very numerous thoughts about it. Like, I don't know, make it something like a head in a glass jar full of water that kind of looks like one of the talking heads from Futurama. But I decided on a movie prop. And the movie prop that I would bury for 1,000 years is a full life-size version of the aliens from Attack from Mars. I think burying one of those and leaving it undisturbed for 1,000 years would absolutely mess with an archaeologist's mind. Bacon agrees. Bacon agrees. Having an alien buried for 1,000 years. What more fun can you have? Well, you know, Teeny, we know an individual who would absolutely, if he was still alive 1,000 years from now, would absolutely try to debunk the fact that Martian aliens conquered the Earth 1,000 years prior. But it would just be fun, and that's what we're here for. The question was, how would I mess with people? That's how I would mess with people. Oh, if Archeo Wolf was here, he'd be on the floor rolling. I guarantee it. But thanks for the question, Kirk. I hope you got an answer, and I hope it was a fun answer. I thought of it for a good 3 minutes. Our next question doesn't come from anybody else but Kirk. Kirk asks again, if it were true that dinosaurs had, at some point, an actual civilization, which we don't know about because millions of years have erased all evidence of it, which particular species do you think would make the best major member of that civilization? For example, T-Rex would be a poor choice because of its teensy arms. I'm glad you threw in the teensy arms thing there, Kirk. Now, we're probably going to spend a little bit of time on this question because I think the species of dinosaur that may be a major player in a dinosaur civilization, if they ever had one, is not the same as the dinosaurs you see in the movie Jurassic Park. Now, I have to preface this because they claim that the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, specifically the Velociraptor, were in fact velociraptors. However, that is far from the truth. Velociraptors in dinosaur times were about the size of a chicken. However, there was a dinosaur that stood about 6 foot tall that did have the sharp claw talon that looked like what they call what Steven Spielberg and Amblin Entertainment and everybody called velociraptors, but they just didn't have that fear factor name. I mean, how much fear can you instill in the hearts and minds of kids if one of the main bad guy dinosaurs in your movie was called a Utah Raptor? Utah Raptor just doesn't have the same fear as Velociraptor. So they changed the name of the Utah Raptor in the movie to be to more so match the fear factor and called it a Velociraptor. Now, with that being said, I would absolutely take the Utah Raptor and not the basketball team. Or no, the Utah Jazz is the basketball team, right? The Toronto Raptors. Well, there might have been Raptors in Toronto too, but we're getting off topic. But I would absolutely take the Utah Raptor as being the Dino civilization's major player. The Latter Day Saints Raptor? Maybe. If you're happy and you know it, clap your. That was a joke towards the T-Rex, and I loved it. The Mormon Raptor, yes. Wait. That says Mormron. That says Mormron More. Let me try this. Mormron Taptor. Are you calling yourself a dinosaur? Mormron Taptor. Okay. Toronto Raptors is the basketball team. I figured that, though I can't really say that I follow the Toronto Raptors. I'm more of a Celtics guy. even though I'm from here in the great state of Florida and we have 2 Florida teams here, I absolutely hate them. I hate the Heat and I hate the Magic. The only time the Magic was ever good was when they had Anthony Hardaway and Shaq on them. So, but that was in the early 90s. Yeah, words are hard, especially when Ron has stupid fingers, as he says. Your suggestion for a time capsule to mess with people. I think I answered that a couple weeks ago. But we can go back to it. But yeah, absolutely we can. You're not the only one with typing issues. Right now, I can't even type in the chat, and I don't know how. I don't know how I managed to not be able to type in the chat anymore. I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out for 3 hours this afternoon. It's annoying. But yeah, so the Raptor definitely major player. Yeah, I don't think there's any. I mean, we could always look at how freaking the TV show, and I'm gonna date myself, and some of you might not even know the TV show I'm talking about, except you might know the one famous phrase from the show. But Jim Henson's Dinosaurs. We could always look at that. That was a civilization of dinosaurs. Granted, it was a TV civilization, but it was still a civilization of dinosaurs. So maybe the T-Rex is I don't know, what could a T-Rex be with tiny arms? Triceratops, maybe like a work foreman or a business owner or something. I don't know. Yes, it was a great show, and I'm sad that they canceled it, though. They died out just like the real dinosaurs. I mean, if you look at if you're on the Talk of Tick and you go and you watch any of Gary the Barbecue Chef's stuff, and yes, that's a plug for Gary the Barbecue Chef. I'm a fan of his. Not that he watches this, not that he knows who I am, but I'm a fan of Gary the Barbecue Chef. When he goes to do some cooking and he wants to throw a frying, or he has to cook things up in a frying pan, he throws the frying pan on the stove and says, "Knock the mama on the stove." So yeah, knock the mama on the stove. Pterodactyls would be good for communication. Pterodactyls, communication or transportation? I mean, pterodactyls, you can do air transportation. Brontosauruses, you can do ground transportation. So, but anyway, I hope, Kirk, that was a good enough answer for you. Definitely Velociraptors probably, or Utah Raptors probably would be the civilization's king, emperor. I mean, T-Rex being the thunder lizard, the king of the dinosaurs. I think you got a smaller dinosaur who's a little bit smarter and a little bit more agile and nimble to run things. So, and you can never hear them urinate because their pee is silent. Yes, the pterodactyls, you can never hear them pee. Maybe an engine for pulling things, bread for short arms to keep them in check. Oh, well, okay. I can see that. Our next question comes from a new individual. And this individual, the Baconess, asks, "Avast, dear pirate brother, in case you're still low on questions, as a former fellow archaeologist, I'd like to know what your favorite site or sites you've worked on were, and why they're your favorite. Looking forward to my new favorite Friday night occupation, bacon." Well, thank you for that, Bacon. That is a great question. Yes, it is you. That is a great question. And it's kind of sort of a question that has come up before, but new people have the same question because new people don't know me. So in 2022, I went to Italy and did a field school on a harbor town on the coast of Italy called Vada, and it's Vada Valenterana. And that was my first excavation site. It's kind of like you never forget your first. And we uncovered so many, well, not so many, we uncovered a lot of the ruins that ended up being something like a foyer or an entranceway to an office building. It was the harbor master's office kind of thing. Um, we excavated 3 sets of human remains dating back from the 2nd to 7th century AD. We, we found a playing dice, 6-sided Roman playing dice, um, marble mosaics. I mean, mosaic tiles. The marble came. We know the marble came from a quarry 3 days travel to the north, and I say 3 days travel. It probably would only take about 3 hours to get there now, but when they're moving marble from the quarry up north to there, it took about 3 days by boat. But yeah, just Italy. My favorite excavation was Italy. Now I've been on a second excavation. That was in northwest Texas. Um, it's part of a dam building project. They're flooding a valley down there, and um, they knew of some ancestral homelands for tribal individuals. Um, it's still something I really can't discuss much, but we were digging deep enough to be in the 5 to 8,000 years ago layer of dirt. Um, Found some animal bone, found some sea mussels, shells, some snail shells. Uh, yeah, it was fun. Not as fun as Italy, but it was fun. It's those being the top, those being my only 2 excavations I've done. They're 1 and 2 respectively. I need to be able to get on some more excavations. I want to go to. There is excavations that are still going on currently in the UK, and there have been for years. There's an excavation in, I want to say, Northern Ireland. Um, it's and Bacon, you can correct me if I'm mispronouncing it. It's Ferry Craig or something like that. Ferry Craig. It's ancient. I think there's a lighthouse there. There's stuff, but it's one that's been going on for a few years. I've known about it for at least 5. So, and it was going on prior to that, but it happens every spring and every winter. They have 2 field schools that happen in the springtime and the wintertime. Ferry Carrig or something like that. But I would absolutely love to go on that one. There is a field school that I would love to go to. It's an underwater field school in Bulgaria, off the Black Sea, though right now it'd probably not be a good idea to go. Um, Excavations are few and far between. If I had an excavation that I'd want to do, it to further my understanding of Caribbean archaeology and piracy and everything else, I would want to do excavations somewhere in the Caribbean. But yeah, so my favorite excavation so far is Vada Valenterana. Hope that answers your question. Hope that gives you some insights onto me. Yup, you're good. You're good. Good evening, all, and welcome in. Bacon. I am halfway there. And by halfway there is I got my underwater dive certification, my open water dive certification on the Red Sea. So my next certifications that I get for my diver is going to be advanced open water, and then rec dive, and not REC, WREC dive. So I can actually dive shipwrecks and stuff. And then from there, I'll get my underwater archaeology certification and stuff like that. But I have to have the time to do so. And I currently work a lot of time. So don't really have the time unless it's on the weekends. And then I don't have the money to do so. Time will, it'll take a while. It'll take time, but I will get there. As much as I want to do that, I also want to get my pilot's license so I can fly everywhere. So, but yeah, I hope that answers your question. You get to know a little bit more about me, and you get to have fun while doing it. So let's see. Isn't diving shipwrecks dangerous regardless of the training? It can be. It can be. However, with the proper training and knowing how to dive the shipwrecks and knowing which shipwrecks you can dive or which shipwrecks you should dive, play a great factor into doing that. But yeah, they can be dangerous without the proper equipment. Definitely with I don't want to go into much, but if you're an amateur and you build your own submarine and you want to go dive and take your submarine down to the Titanic and something happens, oh well. Yes, anything is dangerous if you're ambitious enough. Yeah. Um, Free diving is dangerous. Free diving is diving deep water without tanks. It's just you're holding your breath. You dive down and you dive and you ascend back up. Mountain climbing, rock climbing. I mean, there was a guy recently who just climbed to the summit of Mount Everest, and for the second time, he decided he was going to snowboard all the way down. First time he made it because he snowboarded down the southern face of Everest. This time he wanted to snowboard down the north face and disappeared. Unknown what happened to him. Yeah, free diving is absolute nuts. I couldn't hold my breath for that long. But those people are athletes. They train for that. So private pilot license, haven't flown in a couple decades though. Most fun was when I checked out for flying aerobatics. Love that. Yeah, I mean, if you got the gumption to get in an aerobatic airplane and do loop-de-loops and stuff like that, that's great. I would love to do so. I wouldn't love to do it in a prop plane because I know how prop planes act. I want to do it with as much speed and veracity as I can. So put me in a jet engine and we're golden. Coming up too fast. Yeah, that's how people get to bends. Kurt. Yes, looking around my house and all the toys. I say toys, but cars and car parts and stuff like that, and the restoration projects on the cars that I have at the house. I I think would be much cheaper. Not going to say it on camera because I don't want this video to get banned. But yeah, I think a nose candy habit would be cheaper. Just saying. But yeah, scuba diving in caves isn't that bad, Ron. Really, it's not. Get yourself a smaller, well, not a smaller tank, but a narrower tank, depending on the cave. Um, you can go into caves with a regular sized tank. You can go in. Um, they're really not bad. Scariest thing about them is you don't know what kind of creatures or critters are in there, so you got to be careful with that. But I will tell you this: when I go diving again, I will be using a full face mask. I cannot do one of the goggle masks. Um, so yeah, full face mask will allow you to utilize underwater communications devices, Bluetooth, stuff like that. So maybe I do an episode on scuba diving coming up soon. We'll see. Not really. No. Not really. You can get a good seal. Though I haven't dove with a full beard, so um, the last I was diving was in 2007. So yeah, it's been almost 20 years since I've dove. But yeah, we'll have to see. I don't believe it would be a problem because you could use um, a neoprene hood to cover up everything, and then just seal the mask to the neoprene hood. I've seen divers who have dived or who have dove with full beards. So who knows? It might be best to shave. But we're dragging along. We're at 49 minutes and we still have a few questions to get to. Our next question comes from Kirk. And Kirk asks, is there any evidence that ancient persons painted their minis? Or were they content to leave their minis unpainted, as all reasonable persons should be? Well, Kirk, I'm glad you asked this question because, yes, there are plenty of evidence that people painted minis. And I'm not just talking about minis. I'm talking about full-on figurines, ceramics, whatnot. Painting ceramics was part of the design of the ceramics. Small figurines, as you could call them, minis, were often painted in bright colors: greens, blues, purples, reds, whites. Not anything as intricate as what we would paint minis with, but they would be there because they represented the culture of the time. And you can see that in museums that still have those figurines, those ceramics. I'm not talking porcelains. I'm talking about like red clay ceramics or yellow clay ceramics or stuff out of South America, stuff out of Northern Africa. Absolutely, they painted their minis. Maybe you should get on to painting yours. Anyway, that question seemed propaganda. I don't know. That came from Kirk. Is he propaganding himself? You didn't mean to get this one aired? Then you shouldn't have sent it to Rogue Barter. You shouldn't have sent it here. If you didn't want it aired, don't send it here. If you want it aired, send it here. Because it will get aired if I don't have enough questions. Can't believe Kirk is looking for historical justification for his gray shade. See, yes, we are having fun, people. We are absolutely having fun. And I am glad you guys are here tonight. I use skinny minis, no painting needed. Okay, you could always, Crimson, you could always go purchase pre-painted minis. Statues or minis seems unpainted because the paint's worn off, Kurt. They did paint them. Yes, yes, they absolutely did. They painted everything. And some civilizations actually marked their work with the thumbprint. So and finally, our last question before we get into our deadly dungeon this week. We have a great deadly dungeon this week. But our last question is, other than national flags, and this one also comes from Kirk, other than national flags and the skull and crossbones, what are some other flags flown by a pirate's ship? That is a good question. And I actually have two answers for you. First of all, pirates really didn't fly their nation's colors unless they were a privateer. Secondly, there were three different flags that pirate ships flew. One was their pirate colors, which were the skull and crossbones, typically black. But then there was another that they had made up. Same skull and crossbones on it, but red. And then they flew a white flag. But those pirates who flew the white flag, they weren't pirates. They just gave up. But there was a distinct significance between the red skull and crossbones and the black skull and crossbones. And this might interest some of you. The black normal skull and crossbones, when flown, meant that the captain gave quarter. That the captain was there only to typically take the goods of the ship they were attacking. Giving quarter means that you gave some leniency and mercy to the crew. However, if you were being chased by a pirate, flying his skull and crossbones colors on a red flag, you absolutely run the opposite direction, because that pirate was not interested in anything else but killing. The red flag denotes I give no quarter. Kill everything on sight, take what's mine, leave nothing. Those typically were the only three flags that pirates flew. Now, some pirates may have flown different flags to send messages to other ships in their fleet, but typically the large flags that you see billowing off the backs of the pirate ships or from the crow's nest or from the top of the mast were either a black skull and crossbones, a red skull and crossbones, or if they're giving up because the East India Trading Company has caught them and they want to be saved, then they want to be, they want to be, they don't want to die, they will absolutely hoist to the white flag for I surrender. But typically the ships that were flying their nation's colors were the ships that were owned by the countries. British ships flew the British flag. Spanish ships of the Spanish Main flew the Spanish flag. Portuguese ships flew the Portugal flag. I mean, a lot of the times the pirates did not want people to know what country they hailed from, because then it would have been easier for them to be identified when they went back to their home country. Flag of England or France or Spain. Who cheats and gets pre-painted? Well, I haven't bought any pre-painted, but I do know they are out there, and some of them cost a pretty penny, like a first gen pre-painted. Somebody, and I'm not saying pre-painted. I'm saying pre-painted, but somebody else painted it and sold it. But a first gen previously painted mini of drits in one of my local hobby shops and game shops in Oklahoma cost somewhere in the neighborhood of like $50 to $75 for a mini, but it's a first gen Dritz. So yeah, I would cheat and get pre-painted if it were well done because I'm lazy. Yeah, well, not because you're lazy. If it was well done, I support the artist. Whoever painted it, I support them. And if they're getting a kickback off the money, then yeah, why not? You should support them. Did any pirate crews switch between the black and the red flags? Yes. Yes, they absolutely did. Like, historically speaking, it's really not much for historics. However, if you watch the show Black Sails on Tubi, you will notice there's one episode where Captain Flint's ship or Blackbeard's ship is coming across somebody else, and they're flying a black and white skull and crossbones flag, and they get up close to it, and then the captain orders them to switch to the red. Yeah, it absolutely. It's a way. It's a way to deceive. It's a way for pirates to be able to get close to a merchant vessel. If the merchant vessel sees that they're showing that they're going to give quarter and that they only want the goods, the merchant vessel will stop or slow down so that the pirate ship can overtake them and capture them, because the goods are insured. Your lives are not insured. The goods are insured. They'll gladly give up the goods if it saves their life. But it's a tactic for a pirate ship to get up close and then switch to the red flag to show that no, you guys aren't safe, but thank you for allowing us to come up on you without trying to run away. But we're still going to kill you. It was good until near the end. They kind of got a little sidetracked. But if you know the story of Black Sails and know where they were going and know what they were doing, Black Sails took place roughly 20 years before the events of Treasure Island. Captain Flint is only mentioned briefly in Treasure Island in the novel. The novel is really Billy Bones' story and the story of Long John Silver. But Black Sails was Captain Flint's story. So, I have not seen Our Flag Means Death. Is it a TV series? Is it a movie? Is it, what is it, Jim? When I got back into TTRPGs 20 years ago, I bought a bag of commercially painted minis, 50 for about $1 each. Worked fine for monsters, NPCs, but character minis call for more attention. They absolutely do. They absolutely do. At Gray, the outcome matters. Not only active painting yourself is the therapy. Look, I agree with Carl. Painting minis is and can be therapeutic, depending on how you paint them, depending on what type of minis you're trying to paint. Like I said, I can jest with Kirk all day long. I have a box of unpainted Orc Warrior Warhammer 40K minis in a crate in my office at the house. Probably should start my Orc army over again because a lot of them got broken and everything, but hey, it is what it is. Series on Max. Haven't seen it yet, but it seems interesting based on the true story of Steve Bonnet. I will check it out. Now that I have Max again, I can actually check it out. But thank you for that, Jim. I will definitely look into it. But guess what, everybody? It's time for Deadly Dungeon. And as we saw last week, our deadly dungeon for this week is elves versus werewolves. And why is that off center? I don't know why that is off center, but let me move it to the center. Haha, I can do that because I'm in editor mode. So yeah, elves versus werewolves. Now, before we get involved into what the Discord poll said on who would win, because I've been doing it kind of backwards lately, I want to go through what the elves have versus the werewolves have, and then we'll see. So I used my proprietary software, same software system that Deadliest Warrior used back in the day. And we have our combatants. We have the elves and we have werewolves. Now, I chose to do it in 3.5 standard because I'm a 3.5 nerd. I absolutely love 3.5, and you can't say any difference. I thought about doing Tolkien Est, but Tolkien doesn't have any werewolves in it. So we're left with a D&D based system. And since I know 3.5 and I don't know 5e, went with 3.5. Now, with the elves, they're graceful, intelligent, and magically inclined warriors. Their weapons and gear, they have long swords and rapiers, longbows, light armor, chain shirt, elven chainmail, provides moderate protection without sacrificing mobility. Their abilities and traits, they're dexterous and agile. They have high reflexes, quick movement, and superior ranged accuracy. They have keen senses. Spotless and bonus make ambushes harder to pull off. They have a magic affinity. They can wield arcane magic, granting access to spells like Entangle, Sleep, and Magic Missile. They have hit and run combat tactics, using ranged attacks and magic to weaken the foes before engaging in melee. And they have superior battlefield awareness. They avoid traps and ambushes. Werewolves, however, and we're using the D&D 3.5e lycanthrope, they are savage, relentless, and physically dominant shapeshifters. Their weapons and gear, they have claws and bite, but they have no armor. They do have a natural AC bonus, though. It relies on supernatural resilience rather than physical armor. They have strength and endurance. Werewolves have enhanced physical stats, making them brutal in melee combat. They have damage reduction, 10 over silver. Standard weapons barely hurt them unless they're silvered. Scent and tracking. They can hunt enemies even in darkness or obscured environments. And regeneration. They can heal wounds rapidly, making them harder to kill. Here's another thing that they have. Their damage resistance. They are damage resistance against bludgeoning damage. And I just recently found this out. Like, you could drop a werewolf from the moon, and he could land on the earth, create an impact crater, and absolutely get up and walk away, taking no damage. Bludgeoning damage. Their tactics, they have close range dominance. They overwhelm their foes with brute force, and they have ambush tactics. They use scent and tracking to corner prey. Neutral battlefield, no terrain advantage for either side. Both combatants know they're fighting, no surprise attacks. Standard equipment for both, no silver weapons unless specified. Now, this is where we get into things, because y'all in the Discord poll, and there's only 9 of you, need to get that. We need to get these numbers up, but there's only 9 of you. However, the 9 of you that had voted, myself included, real life is definitely different from the game, but they have a damage resistance to bludgeoning damage. Like you could put a pack of werewolves in a freaking catapult and hurl them at a wall, and they will take down the wall and then get up and walk away with no damage. The wall, however, takes the 15 d6 or the 150 d6 or whatever d6 they're taking, and so does everybody else around it. But it's fine, Gray. I wasn't talking to you. You can have all the time. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a poll in the Discord tonight for our next week's Deadly Dungeon, and it's our semifinal round, and it's the first battle of our semifinal round, which we will get to after this. But you all impressed me, even the 9 of you that do it, and you, for some reason, there are just some battles that we have that you guys are on point for. On point for. Because in the Discord poll for elves versus werewolves, you guys overwhelmingly chose the werewolf. 60% or 67% to 33% against the elves. And guess what my simulation did? My simulation did 33 or 35% against, or for the werewolves, and 65% against, I'm sorry, reverse that, 35% against the elves and 65% for the werewolves. Not too shabby, guys. Not too shabby at all. You guys were on point with this one again. So that means that the werewolves move on because, you know, I don't take my simulations. I take the Discord poll. I take what you guys want. That means the werewolves move on into the semifinal round. And our 4 semifinalists are robots versus werewolves and deranged gods versus Vikings. This should be interesting because next week, we have robots versus werewolves, and I will put the poll up in the Discord as soon as the show tonight is over, and you guys can go to the Discord channel and vote on who you think would win against each other, the robots or the werewolves. Now I have my pick, and I let my pick slip last week, but I'm not going to let my pick slip this week. So Hellman's is not going to be in this Battle Royal, Kirk. They'll be in the next one because we have more condiments in the next one than we did in this one. So, I don't know. That's for 2 weeks from now to find out. Vikings always have a chance. I mean, we've got a friend of ours in the chat. Well, not in the chat. I hope someday he shows up, but he's training for fighting right now. I mean, anything you... Hey, hammer! That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, next week's Robots versus Werewolves. It is that time of the show again, people. Not to end, but we are at the end of the show. Not ending the show, but we are in Chat Chat. We like to start Chat Chat off with good things of the week. What is everybody's good things of the week? We already heard Yazik's good thing of the week. He's starting his Kickstarter, and he's starting a full-on TTRPG for Florida Man Edition. My good thing for the week is I got in my new digs. And they're lovely new digs. And you guys get artwork behind me now. 2 pieces, actually 3 pieces of artwork. If I back the camera up. However, if I back the camera up any further than this and put it where it should be on top of the TV, I'm like really small because it's like 10 feet away. So this is going to be the distance for the going time frame. So, what is everybody's good thing for the week in the chat? Please let me know. I know Bacon had a good thing for the week. She got a question aired on Rogue Advice. That's a good thing. I was a very small pirate. Yokai's doing another 5K in the morning. That counts. If it's good for you, it's good for them. Oh, you did get the job. I am so happy for you, Bacon. I am so happy for you. Congratulations. Diney got a 2010 Pathfinder. Nice. I can help with the add-ons for it. I know Wolf can help with the add-ons for it. Definitely have to get you a brush guard for the front. But that's gonna absolutely be wonderful for next year's gathering. Yes. Throw out a congratulations to Bacon. She's phenomenal, phenomenal. She absolutely probably crushed her interview. So, and I was hoping you would get the job, Bacon. I really was. You needed some good things happen. So, Kirk, what's your good thing for the week? Ruby, Ron, I know you guys have good things for the week. While everybody's thinking about their good things for the week, let's talk about a little bit of sports. I heard this week that Aaron Rodgers is signing with the Steelers on a 1-year deal. That'll be interesting. You get to leave work early, Crimson Honda. It's always good to leave work early, so long as you don't leave work early with work being left. Ron's building a deck. Kirk may get his broken mini 3D printer. Maybe. You know, Kirk, if you 3D printed minis, you could 3D print them in different colors and you wouldn't have to paint them. Oh, you're getting your broken mini 3D printed. Okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. But again, my statement stands. If you printed it in multiple different colors, then you wouldn't have to paint them. Just saying. They don't have to be gray. They can be green, or they can be blues, or they can be whites and golds. Multicolor not available. I get that. We can always mock his lack of painting them. We can always mock it, regardless, because he made the statement. What am I going to do when Rogue Advice isn't on for a week or two? I have nothing to do. You can paint your minis. That is never going to get old, Kirk, and I'm sorry. I hope you don't take offense to it. We're just having fun. Oh. Anyway, everybody, we are at 1 hour and 14 minutes. I thank you for showing up tonight. I thank you for being here. I thank you for having fun on a wonderful Friday evening. Nothing to do sounds so nice. Yes, no, absolutely. There are plenty of things to do. Tiny. But it is the end of the show. And I would like to thank everybody for showing up. I would like to thank Kirk, Ron, Crimson Honda, Bacon, Teeny, Kevin, Gray, Carl, everybody, all the new people who showed up. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for everything. I couldn't be here without you guys and without you guys' support. So please like, share, subscribe. Send this to your friends. Get them interested in coming out on a Friday night and just hanging for an hour. Hanging for an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half. Sometimes we go 2 hours. We went 2 hours a few weeks ago. But yeah, I want to say good night, and I want to leave you with this. Take what you can. Give nothing back. And with that, the Pirate Archaeologist is off. Stay tuned, though. Not tonight, but soon. The Pirate Archaeologist will be doing book readings, and we will be starting with Treasure Island.